a lovely name, Ardal O'Hanlon. O'Hanlon's not unusual. Ardal is.
Yes, it is quite unusual. Yeah, people often ask me where did I get such an unusual name, you know, as if I picked it, as if I enjoyed being called Ardal the Dardal, the big fat mardle all my life.
I mean, your parents, of course, you came from a very respectable and academic background in many senses. I mean, your dad, is your dad at present the Speaker of the Irish Parliament?
Is, yeah.
He is,
yeah.
and a very respected and eminent politician. Your mother's a teacher. Were they disappointed, embarrassed by the fact that you want to be a comic?
Yes, I know. They're very embarrassed this evening at home watching this, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, they are. I mean, obviously, they're very concerned. They're very sensitive to any sort of representation of their lives or themselves. And in my act, you know, they think it embarrasses them. And, you know, they don't get it. The whole point of doing what I do is to embarrass them. It's to get them back for all the times they embarrassed me. You know, all boys wear tights to school during the winter. Ardal the Dardal. Don't forget your handbag. Yeah. Go on, try on the trousers there in the middle of the shop. Go on. Nobody's looking. Nobody's interested in your little arrangement. Go on.
I'm sure they're sitting there at home fuming now, saying he's lying again. Mind you, coming from a politician's household, that'd be all right, wouldn't it? Telling fibs.
Absolutely. Where do you think I learned it?
What about you're now back on the road doing stand-up? You started a tour last year. You had a break, and now you're
yes,
back.
This is sort of a postscript to a fairly extensive tour last autumn. Then there was a big hiatus in between, and then just towards the end of May, I'm going to start again with some stuff in Dublin. I didn't get a chance to do Dublin last time around,
that'd be special.
or Telford.
And
yeah, no, it's sort of a little. It's kind of a postscript to the tour. Yeah.
But I mean, you had a very successful career in acting on television. I mean, why go back to stand-up? I mean, it seems to me, and I don't know if David would agree with this as being an actor, that, I mean, it's the most difficult, dangerous job on God's earth. Yeah?
Well, absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't do it.
I think burglary is as difficult, but no, it's sort of it's kind of a disease. It is really. I mean, it's something that it never quite goes away. You know, it gets the pulse racing and the blood boiling, and you know, I think it concentrates the mind more than anything. It's very good for, you know, you have to think, you have to sit down and think and engage with the world around you and people as well. I think, you know, working on TV all the time, you know, you get very cocooned, you know, and very pampered, you know, and so I think it's good to get out, and I'm very jealous. I think it's good to get out on the road and...
I suppose what it does do, I mean, you have to sit down and think what you think about things, don't you?
Well, exactly.
You know, I mean, doing the kind of comedy you do, you have to sit down and think, well, what's bothering me? What makes me angry? What makes me... So what's in your current repertoire of hates?
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of everything, I suppose. You know, as I get older, I get slightly more tetchy, and you know, I mean, it's not earth-shattering, really. I mean, you know, like here in this country, you're about to introduce a smoking ban, for example. We've had that for ages. We've had it for a couple of years now. Scotland introduced it just there a couple of weeks back. You know, I'm not a smoker myself, but I always enjoyed coughing. It's ridiculous. It's people telling you what to do all the time. You know, I was in a pub in the west of Ireland there some months back, and you know, the wind was howling outside, and ooh, mightn't have been the wind actually. It might have been a cow with a cough. But I was in this pub. It was an illegal lock-in. You know, like you still get in some parts of Ireland. You know, about 3 or 4 in the morning. People were there drinking illegally, all sorts of reprobates, selling crack cocaine for all I know. But every 10 minutes, to a man, they were stealing outside for a cigarette in the wind.
It's strange.
It's ridiculous.
It's odd. And we are very regulated now, aren't we?
I think we are. I think it's something that we have to resist.
The nanny state.
The nannies, we have to resist. I read recently you're not allowed to smile on your passport anymore.
Oh, no, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Very serious.
You know, I agree that you shouldn't all pile into the booth with all your friends going... You know, my poor Uncle Tommy, he looks like this all the time. Oh, no, I'm not going to get into America now. I'll have to break my face with a hammer.
You mentioned they're getting older. I mean, you've turned 40 now, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Was it a traumatic moment in your life? Did you feel different?
No, quite the opposite. It was a liberating moment.
Was it?
In my life. I really think so. I think I was always a very uptight sort of person, kind of very intense. And I just feel when you get to 40, you can sort of begin to let yourself go a little. And you can say what you like as well. You can't stand for any nonsense when you get to 40, I think. I was in a restaurant the other night with my wife. We went out for an argument, and I was there, and... and the waiter comes over and says, oh, don't touch the plate, it's very hot. I'm going, feck it, I'm touching it. I need to find out for myself. Oh, you're right, it is very hot. But I was with a friend of mine in the pub recently, and it came to the end, a very old friend, hadn't seen him for months. We had a great evening. Came to the end of the evening, he says, good luck now, and the last thing he said to me was, take care. Don't tell me what to do. So I immediately went over to the nearest door and I trapped my cock in it for an hour.
If I read, I think not that's enough. If I read,
he doesn't like bad language.
If I read the research properly,
using filthy language like that, we don't have that on our show.
You'll never be in a submarine with Sir David.
No, sir. Just like that.
No. Now, a couple of other odd things that I read about you. Some very odd things in the cuttings about you. Two things I must check out. One is that this goes back to Father Ted days. I mean, Father Ted would cast a rather long shadow across your career, didn't it? Because it was very important to you. But did I read that Father Dougal was up to be Pope? That some American newspaper actually took this seriously?
Yeah. No, this time last year... God forbid. This time last year, Pope John Paul II died.
Yes.
And very shortly after that, an Irish bookmaker very sensitively opened a book on who would be the next Pope. And, it's genuinely true. And, they had Cardinal Ratzinger was 5-1 or whatever. Cardinal Big Hat was 10-1 or whatever. And then, as a bit of a joke, they had Father Dougal Maguire, the character I played in Father Ted, down at 1,000-1. And it was clear to everyone that it was a bit of a prank. Mind you, that didn't stop an awful lot of people in Ireland putting money on him. And here, they know, they're going, well, yeah, he's a fictional character, all right, but, those odds are pretty tempting, You just never know, do you? I mean, stranger things have happened. Steve Staunton was made manager of the Irish football team, so, David Cameron, Tory party. But anyway, that's beside the point. But the Washington Post, the very cerebral, sensible newspaper in America, ran with this, slightly disapprovingly, going on about the story, but mentioned that this obscure Irish priest was a contender. And then I start getting worried because I didn't hear anything one way or the other from the Vatican. So it would be upheaval.
And the other story, too, that I read was a very strange story, linking you with Frank Sinatra. Now, you never met Frank Sinatra, did you?
No, I never met. I would have loved to have met Frank Sinatra.
Paul Anka met and wrote with Sinatra, but this story, it links you with Sinatra.
Yeah, it was like, well, it's just, again, it just bears out what we were talking about, more or less the gullibility of the press. There was a time in my life when I suppose when I was doing Father Ted and My Hero and stuff, when, you had to do a lot of press to publicise these shows. And, it's always very uncomfortable having to do that. And sort of to alleviate the boredom, I used to just make up stuff. And somebody was asking me, it was one of the TV listings magazines, and the reporter was asking me, like, well, what are you doing now? And I said, well, I've just finished a musical in Las Vegas with Frank Sinatra. And she was going, fair enough, yeah, OK. And I was going, she's going with this. So I said, yeah, we were playing 2 parts of a camel, I was at the front, Frank was at the back. And thinking, like, well, I'm just playing here. And she was going, oh, 2 parts of a camel? Yeah, it was a sort of an Egyptian theme, and, So that was going on. And then I said, and we became very good friends. And so the story went on, and this was all published, that he came to stay with me in Ireland, and we played chess together for 2 weeks. She put it all down. I couldn't believe it, and, it was hilarious to see it then in print weeks later. But the story doesn't end there. A few days later, my agent gets a number of phone calls from people asking me to be in musicals.
OK. So you're on tour, then? Your tour starts...
Touring towards the end of May.
Towards the end of May.
Very small.
Very small.
Yeah. It's about 7 days.
OK, all success then with the tiny tour.
Yeah.
Ardal O'Hanlon.
Thank you very much.